what Tinubu is doing. Tinubu simply reenacting the playbook of Joseph Stalin, the ruthless Russian dictator, who used a particular tactic and strategy. Amass wealth, keep the people hungry, starve them sufficiently, and then they can grovel at crumbs falling from your table. That's exactly the playbook. Babangida, when he was military head of state of Nigeria, used the playbook of Machiavelli. So for President Tinubu himself as an individual, he accused Jonathan of being clueless. He has turned out to be the most clueless leader Nigeria has ever produced. Beyond being clueless, he's so insensitive, so far removed from the people. This Showore, Nigerians should all mobilize, should organize against the emerging threat to the freedom of speech, to freedom of agitation and freedom of protest. Yeah, if Showore did not attend court, yes, so what? Is that why he should be sent to prison? The judge can say it's contempt of court. Contempt in the face of court, that is contempt ad incuria in law. That is not sufficient, to have sent Showore to court, because even the judges themselves, they are members of society. They know what is happening in Nigeria. And so what does Showore represent? Is Showore representing himself, or is actually speaking for the mass of the people, for the interests of Nigerians? I feel pained, because let us tell ourselves the truth. Donald Duke cannot defeat Tinubu. Showore cannot. Peter Obi, Kwakwanso, yes, they can. Atiku, maybe, yes, he can.
All right, our guest on today's edition of Naija Unfiltered, a SYMFONI podcast, is a veteran journalist, member Nigerian Guild of Editors, and President Civil Liberties Organization, Igho Akeregha. Igho.
It's a pleasure.
Good to see you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Good to have you here again.
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's start this way. Let's have your assessment of President Tinubu's 3 years in office vis-a-vis the area of security, economy, and democratic ethos.
Well, I will attempt to be objective in this our encounter today. What I mean by attempting to be objective is, there are a whole lot of issues to look at in assessing the Tinubu administration in 3 years, particularly if we have to focus on security. First and foremost, we need to examine the mandate of Tinubu himself. The current president of Nigeria, Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu, does he have the mandate of Nigeria to be the president? Yes, agreed. The Independent National Electoral Commission, then managed by former INEC chairman Mahmoud Yakubu, declared him president. Now, if you look at the population of Nigeria in 2023, when Tinubu became the president, Nigeria was about 263.4 million, gross average population. And Tinubu, if you look at the result that was declared by INEC in 2023 that brought Tinubu to power, Tinubu had about 8,794,000 votes. And Atiku, who was the closest rival to Tinubu, had 8,984,000 votes. Now, if we look at the marginal figure of Tinubu, 8 points.
Did this Atiku had 8.9?
Yes, Atiku had. Sorry, 6.9
million.
Yes, 6.9 million. Yes, sorry about that. Now, if Tinubu had 8.794, 8,794,000 votes, to a population of over 260 million people, will you say, for example, that the man indeed carries the mandate of Nigeria to be president? So I see that as a burden on him as president. That's one. With regards to how he has fared so far in 3 years. We have to go back to 2014, when former President Goodluck Jonathan was in power. Tinubu then was leading the opposition, the Action Congress of Nigeria. He was leading the opposition. And he said, the ACN, which was the biggest opposition party at the time, said that Goodluck Jonathan had no clue. That he was clueless. He didn't know what to do as president of Nigeria. And that insecurity was, enveloping everybody, was swallowing up Nigeria. People were concerned because at that time in 2014, yes, Boko Haram was there, particularly in Borno State and fringes of Yobe and Adamawa State, and the Chibok girls were kidnapped. So that was the only major incident at the time. Barack Obama was president of the United States. And there was an upheaval all over the world. That was 2014. So Tinubu lashed on that heavily to campaign against Jonathan. And most Nigerians bought it, and he said he was coming with his party to effect change. And the Nigerians, for once, will have a breather that he was going to, within 3 months, take out Boko Haram, ensure that every part of Nigeria is reclaimed, and that there will be security. And he even said then that without security, there can be no investment. And that citizens, will not have the opportunity to live a good life. Nigerians believed in, and he was going to properly manage the economy for the benefit of every Nigerian citizen. So with those kind of campaigns, Nigerians already quite tired of the Jonathan government, particularly the PDP had been in power. If you remember very well, the PDP had been in power for about 16 years then. So Nigerians thought that it's like a man who married only one wife. You think that, this is your wife, You've seen everything that she has to offer. So you want to look at women outside. So Nigerians were looking for alternatives, particularly with the increasing spate of insecurity at the time. And so the kidnap of the Chibok girls was the icing on the cake at the time. Tinubu came to power. He was sworn in May 29, 2023. When so much was expected of a man that also promised so much for Nigerians. The first policy statement he issued was subsidy was gone. Before you could say Jack Robinson, the economy went on a spiral, down the drain. Today, we are where we are. We are all familiar with the severe economic hardship that has imposed on Nigerians. Now, that also has, led to increased insecurity in this country. Can we say we are fared well? In 3 years of Tinubu's government, I would say that if I am to score him, maybe with a ratio of 100%, I think Tinubu has only scored about 22%. This is not what Nigerians expect. Now, almost every state in Nigeria, as I speak to you, is engulfed by the fire of terrorism one way or the other. People are no longer safe. Even in Abuja here, where we are, people come into your homes, move people out, and take them into the bushes. Armed robbery has increased. One chance has increased. Yes, the president has directed that more policemen should be recruited. We have forest guards. I see these efforts as very feeble because it is not about more boots on the ground. At a time that the world, if you look at the Russia-Ukraine war, there's not a huge reliance on technology. Drone. Initially, when Russia invaded Ukraine, Russia had upper hand. But with time, Russia was in control of Crimea, before the invasion. And after the invasion, Russia moved in took Kramatorsk, took Pokrovsk, took a whole lot of regions belonging to Ukraine. And Ukraine was depending on the US and the European and its European allies. But now discovered that if it continues to rely on those allies, Ukraine was going to lose the war. And that country looked inward. And today, Ukraine has developed its own locally made drones, and Russia is feeling the heat. I think that is where we should be focusing on. President Tinubu does not appear to be looking in the direction of technology. And just look at what has happened in Oyo State recently. Owerri local government, where teachers and school pupils were kidnapped. For 33 days now, they are still in the Oyo, so-called Oyo National Park, the forest. And about 3 soldiers, including a lieutenant in the Nigerian army, have been killed by these terrorists. And the information we hear, the reports that we read is that, they are planting IEDs, improvised explosive devices, along the path of the rescue teams, the forces that are coming to rescue. We should have known all of that. Why didn't we deploy technology? Deploy drones that can, pinpoint the location of these terrorists that are in that place, and possibly use asphyxiating chemicals that can send them to sleep. Why do you want to? From the air, you can fly a helicopter and just spray the entire place. Both the terrorists and their victims, everybody, we go to sleep. And then the ground forces can then move in, and take out the abductees. And then handcuff, the terrorists. I mean, there's technology for that. How did America do it? When a clergy, one American clergy in Niger was kidnapped, and brought into Katsina State. I remember very well. But the Americans flew in, the special forces, Navy SEALs flew in, and they were 7. They killed 6 of those terrorists and rescued their citizens in Nigerian territory overnight. We still have the Chibok girls. Since 2014, they are still there. We are running from pillar to post, and the focus, as I see right now, with the political elite, with Tinubu, is about 2027. How they can come back, how they can secure their positions, how they can continue to lord it over Nigeria in the midst of all of these, crises. So for me, as I said, Mr. President, we barely get a 22% pass mark from me, over 100. Most Nigerians are not enamored, they are not impressed so far. All the promises have fallen flat on the face. And so, we cannot be humored anymore. We cannot be deceived. I think I don't want to believe that it is the ruling party, the All Progressives Congress, that is responsible for the predicament that has befallen Nigeria. It's about the individuals. Because across political parties, we have good political leaders. Look at Alex Otti of Abia State. He's the only governor of the Labour Party in Nigeria. But look at the marvelous job, the exemplary work that governor has done. That Abia State, which was almost in the backwaters, today is a leading state, it's a model state in Nigeria. My own state, Delta State, for the first time, the governor, Sheriff Oborewori, was also in the PDP, he defected to the APC. For the first time in the history, since the creation of Delta State, it is local contractors, because that Delta is a coastal environment. The roads that were constructed since the creation of Delta State has been washed away. And the governor spotted the problem. Julius Berger is a very expensive construction company. So for the first time, the governor hired Julius Berger to come into the state and construct the roads. As we speak, there's massive construction going on in Delta State. From Warri to Asaba to Iroele to everywhere. For the first time, there are no bridges in Delta, no overhead bridges. That is being done. So that's why I said it is about individuals and not really zeroing in on the political parties. So for President Tinubu himself as an individual, he accused Jonathan of being clueless. He has turned out to be the most clueless leader Nigeria has ever produced. Beyond being clueless, he's so insensitive, so far removed from the people. I cannot understand, because I was an editor in Lagos when Tinubu was governor of Lagos State. He introduced a lot of model development to the state that endeared Lagos State to the rest of the country. Look at the other day, 30 Nigerians were killed in Agwa in Plateau State. Mowed down in broad daylight on a Palm Sunday when Christians were celebrating Palm Sunday. It's almost like what happened on October 7 between Israel and Hamas, when the Israelis were celebrating the Yom Kippur festival, on October 7. Hamas invaded and killed about 1,200 Israelis and kidnapped and abducted others, took them across the border. It is the same thing that happened in Nigeria. The difference is that the Israeli response was almost unanimous. Today, Gaza is in ruins. It has been leveled. And Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, promised the Israelis that Hamas will ever live to remember October 7, a day that they made the mistake of crossing the border into Israel to kill Israeli citizens and abduct them. We are witnesses to what has happened to Hamas. Their leaders have been eliminated, along with innocent people anyway, because that is just what it is, collateral damage. Buildings, entire areas have been leveled. In the case of Nigeria, how have we responded? The president flew to Jos, sat in the airport, and told bereaved mothers, parents, to come and see him. That is not alone. He said he had only 1 hour 30 minutes. 10 minutes, yes. I'm even giving him a lot of benefit. 10 minutes. And that because there was no light in the airport. A president speaking to citizens who lost their loved ones. We also saw the visuals of a mother crushing the bloody remains of her only son. That woman was part of those who went to the airport to see President Tinubu. And all the president could tell that woman and all of the Nigerian citizens who lost loved ones on that day was that he had 10 minutes for them. And he flew back. The governor himself, Caleb Mutwang, governor of Plateau State, it took him 4 days to visit Agwa, the epicenter of where the killings took place. He rode there in an armored personnel carrier. He only brought out his head to speak to bereaved families. It was when protests erupted that he managed to come out of. So this managed to come out of the armored car. So these are the kind of leaders we have, the crop of leaders we now have in the country. Don't also forget that Caleb Mutwang has defected from the PDP also to the ruling party, the APC. So generally speaking, the security situation in Nigeria now is dicey. Nobody feels safe anymore. Investors are worried. People are disturbed. Nobody's sure of himself. Entire communities and villages have been swept off. Taxes are being paid to terrorists now. Terrorists are holding swaths of territory, whether in Sokoto, in Katsina, in Zamfara, in Kaduna. Yes, I said earlier, Ubasani has done very well in Kaduna. I remember when former Governor El-Rufai was there. Sata Kaduna was a killing field. Almost every day, Nigeria is relished with stories of how entire communities were wiped out by terrorists. And El-Rufai did nothing about it. For the very first time in the history of that state, he introduced a Muslim ticket. And he was among those who encouraged Tinubu that if Nigeria runs a Muslim ticket, nothing will happen. Heavens will not fall. Today, again, breaking the records historically, we now have a president who brazenly picked a Muslim as a vice president. And for more than 3 years now, they are in power. What has happened? Can you imagine if it were to be a Christian president who also picked a Christian as vice president? I'm sure you will not be sitting down here, to discuss, to hold this conversation. But I think Southern Nigeria mostly, particularly Christians in Nigeria, have been very quiet, very tolerant, very peaceful. Christians are being beheaded all over the place. It's not about the politics of saying, no, nobody should talk about it. The reality on ground is that more Christians have been killed in Nigeria, more Christian communities have been wiped out. Look at Benue State. Almost 5 local governments, they are in IDP camps. People can no longer go to farm. Benue State is the food basket of Nigeria. Yet we have a president who sits down and behaves as if nothing is happening. Look at Zamfara State. Look at what is happening all over the country. Look at Sokoto, even the seat of the caliphate. It took the Americans to come and even bomb Nigeria from Ghana, sending Tomahawk missile from Ghana to bomb terrorists, Lakurawa terrorists, at the back of the Sultan of Sokoto. It is almost like when that bombing took place, it reminded me of what happened to Osama bin Laden, who was living right in the most secured area in Pakistan, Abbottabad in Pakistan. It took the Americans, good intelligence, to fish him out. Landed there, took him out, killed him, and today America is living in peace. But yet we have the Sultan of Sokoto, who presides over a religion they call religion of peace. Yet terrorists were right in his backyard, Lakurawa terrorists. He took the Americans far away in Ghana through intelligence, using their Reaper drone to discover that right in Sokoto, terrorists have a big operational base, plan their terrorism from there, and attack and kill innocent Nigerians. So, overall, if you look at how our approach to even fighting insecurity and terrorism in Nigeria is like a slap in the wrist. Look at what the Chief of Defense Staff said. When Oluwade was appointed as the Chief of Defense Staff, I was excited. I thought that, because looking at his frame, very tall, he's almost a 7-footer, he has an intimidating stature. You think this is a military officer who is coming to wipe out these ragtag individuals overnight. Today, under his nose, terrorism has increased. Even look at the former Chief of Defense Staff, who is now Minister of Defense, General Christopher Gwabin Musa. What has he done? It's not about just, moving from your khaki to civilian dress, and then you see all the nice things that people want to hear, and nothing is being done. So, I think what is happening is that what Jonathan told us before he left power is what is bedeviling Nigerians at the moment. The real terrorism sponsors, financiers, are in government. Jonathan said it himself, that they are in the government. Who are those individuals who are in government? Why is it that every Nigerian president is afraid to name, shame, and expose terrorism sponsors and financiers? They are right in the government. They live amongst us. What exactly did the Igbos do in 1967 before Nigeria declared a war against the Igbos in 1967? The Igbos never embarked on massive killing of other Nigerians, beheading people recklessly, mindlessly, the way the Fulanis are doing in Nigeria, because it's time to name people, without stereotyping an ethnic group. The majority of these terrorists are from that ethnic stock. And that is the truth. They have exported these mindless killings, mindless brigandage to other regions, to other states of Nigeria. Whether it is now they are in the southwest, they are in the south-south, and they're also in the southeast. And that is why I asked the question, what exactly was the sin of the Igbos in 1967 that made Nigeria to declare a war on the Southeast. The late Emeka Odumegwu Ojukwu, saw that the Igbos were being slaughtered, also being beheaded in the north, slaughtered in broad daylight. And in defense of his Igbo people, he asked them to return home, and he declared the region, the Southeast region, Biafra, in an attempt to protect that region from further killings and broad day murder. There was so much injustice in 1967, but what did the rest of Nigerians do? They mobilized themselves and levied war against the Southeast. That war was fought for 3 years, with close to 2 million Igbos, including people, Christians and Southerners, losing their lives in that war. So what is Nigeria waiting for before they declare war on these individuals who are no longer hiding? They are doing videos, collecting ransoms. You know, the monies are all over the place. They are flaunting it in our faces, flaunting sophisticated weapons, RPGs, aircraft guns, anti-aircraft guns, AK-47 rifles. They even tell you where their locations are. So it's not about we are fighting asymmetric warfare. This war is no longer asymmetric.
From what you're saying, are you aligning yourself with those who say that President Tinubu is completely disconnected from the economic and security realities in the country?
He knows he's disconnected. He knows it's not on ground. First, he started saying, "Oh, what is happening is like a pang of pain. A woman who wants to give birth, insecurity will go away, economic hardship will go away." But it is deepening. He's completely disconnected. He has built a wall. He has fenced himself in. Why is it that all his policies are anti-people, anti-Nigerians? Can anybody tell me one policy that this president has enunciated that is pro-people, that is to the benefit of Nigerians? Is it his tax policies? Is it the NER fund? What is the impact of NER fund? A few individuals, a few students have access to loan. They go to the university. What is the guarantee now? What are the jobs that Tinubu has created that when you access NER fund, graduate, you come and work? Or is it Nigerians that are now jackpotting to other countries? Look how Nigerians are being killed in South Africa. What a shame. And nobody is saying anything. If not for this young woman, Bianca Ojukwu, who was recently appointed as the Foreign Affairs Minister, there was nobody in the government that was protecting Nigerians in diaspora. But we can see what that woman is doing. She's engaging properly, engaging efficiently. The former Foreign Affairs Minister, Yusuf Tuga, was just like a dress rehearsal. It was Nigeria had no Foreign Affairs Minister.
All right, let's go to activism. There is a feeling among members of the public that activism in Nigeria ended with defeat of PDP in 2015 election, and that what we have seen afterwards is nothing near activism. For example, in 2014, activists stood on the streets demanding Jonathan respect democratic norms. Fast forward to 2026 now, this government has reportedly done worse by Nigerians' calculation, but the activists are not seen to be doing enough to check this government.
I will answer you straight away. If you look at what is happening, what Tinubu is doing, Tinubu simply is reenacting the playbook of Joseph Stalin, the ruthless Russian dictator, who used a particular tactic and strategy. Amass wealth, keep the people hungry, starve them sufficiently, and then they can grovel at crumbs falling from your table. That's exactly the playbook. Babangida, when he was military head of state of Nigeria, used the playbook of Machiavelli. Divide and rule, play the people against themselves, and all of that. You know, pretend as if, you know, you are establishing institutions. Today, nobody is even talking about the proceeds, the daily proceeds coming from subsidy removal. So, all of this humongous wealth is being held by a few individuals in this government, preparatory to deploying these resources to buy the minds and consciences of Nigerians who are already impoverished, pauperized, and have been kept in hunger. So, when they dangle the crumbs for you, because you are so hungry, so deprived, if you have no conscience, you want to accept it and then grovel at their feet. So many of, I don't want to mention names here, people who were in the trenches with us, where are they today? They've joined the government. People whose voices were very loud in 2014, why are their voices silent now? Where are the clergy? The church is the worst culprit. The church collaborated with activists in 2014, marching in Ojota, shouting that Jonathan was clueless. Nigeria is being taken over by terrorists. Where are the church leaders now? I also don't want to mention names. They know themselves. We live in this country, but everybody must not forget that the day of reckoning is coming when we face the Lord, our God, our Maker. Whether you amass all the wealth today, you will go with nothing.
All right, let's look at this government handling of democracy. For the first time since this country's republic, we have witnessed instability in political parties allegedly sponsored by the ruling government. What do you have to say about this, and what are the implications? Meddling in political parties, allegedly sponsoring instability in political parties.
The implications are very grave. As I said earlier, this is not the democracy we fought for and expected to grow. President Tinubu himself was an advocate of plural democracy. Today, he has become the biggest antagonist to plural democracy, to a flourishing democratic practice, to democratic choices, to freedom. All the political parties, in fact, we even thought that as Buhari handed over to him in 2014, most Nigerians heaved a sigh of relief that with the coming of Tinubu, many of the injustices suffered under Buhari, that Tinubu will come and correct them. Shockingly, Mr. Tinubu told Nigerians that Buhari handed over to him, and he handed over that. In fact, Buhari is him, and he is Buhari. That reminds me of the French emperor, who said that I am the state, and the state is me. That's what Tinubu told Nigerians, that he is Buhari and Buhari is him. And that what that simply means that all the policies, all the obnoxious policies of Buhari, that he's going to follow through with them, he will be implementing them. So that answers the question. The climate of fear that we are living in today, the erosion of plural democracy, the invasion of political parties, and their denial from evolving into strong parties that can challenge the ruling party is clearly at the behest. The blame is to be put at the doorstep of President Tinubu and the ruling party. There is no two ways about that. And why is he doing that? So that he will become the sole candidate for the presidential elections in 2027. Don't forget, President Tinubu did something that most Nigerians appears not to understand. Benin Republic, the former president of Benin, who just handed over, I think last month, ensured that all the political parties, opposition political parties, were strangulated by a legislation, a singular legislation. We said that you must be endorsed by 2/3 of parliamentarians before you can contest any election. And who are those parliamentarians? They all belong to the ruling party. And so, as we speak, Benin Republic, our next door neighbor here, is a one-party state. And when the elections held, the anger, the Beninese got so angry that they wanted to remove the government. What did Nigeria do? President Tinubu sent fighter jets to Benin Republic, sent our troops across the border to Benin Republic, and told us that the deployment of Nigerian forces to Benin Republic within 24 hours, with the speed of light, that was to stabilize democracy in that country. But yet, this same president is not able to stabilize his own country with the invasion of terrorists coming from all over Africa into Nigeria. They've set up camps in our forests. They are not even in the urban area, not in the cities.
Nasir El-Rufai has been in detection. The trial has been moving at a snail pace. Is what is happening to El-Rufai justice, or is it political persecution by President Tinubu, has been alleged in some quarters?
It is justice as prescribed by El-Rufai himself. When El-Rufai was governor of Kaduna State, what did he do? He arrested people, detained people without trial, muzzled opposition. I said it earlier that he introduced a Muslim ticket. So El-Rufai is being served his own dose. That is why you find that in fact, even people in Kaduna, where is he being tried? Is he not being tried in Kaduna? If he was so popular, he was immediate past governor. The courtroom would have been besieged by Kaduna people. He has been left to roast in his own stew because that was the same thing he served others. So today, you might think that you are an emperor. Nothing is going to happen to you. Who knows tomorrow? I give kudos to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for serving El-Rufai his own dose. They led him on. He thought he was smart. The color of justice, the El-Rufai so much adored, he is now drinking from that cup of injustice. So he has not drunk enough. Many Nigerians are wishing him to rot and die in jail. That is what serves him right. He has no sympathy.
That seems to be an extreme case.
Yes, it should be extreme because there is a particular activist, I can't remember his name now. He's still missing up to now. He's a major critic of El-Rufai while he was governor. That man is missing, and a lot of people are pointing fingers at El-Rufai's administration that is responsible for the disappearance of that critic. I think it is under investigation as we speak. So, those who go to equity must come with a clean hand. If his hands are clean, the judiciary that I know of, at some point, will set him free. But it is a matter before the judiciary. But speaking by way of venting my personal opinion, El-Rufai did not do well as governor of Kaduna State. Were there no killings in Southern Kaduna when he was governor? What did he do? What steps did he take? How many people did he arrest? How many terrorists did he arrest?
But the same can be said. The same can be said of President Tinubu. When he was governor of Kaduna State, he could say he did his best, that he couldn't stop it. Just like President Tinubu, there are also killings.
His best was not good enough. That's why Tinubu too is having a problem with Nigerians. So today, it's not enough to say you are doing your best. Is your best good enough? Is it acceptable to those who supported you to become their leader? As I said, Tinubu just had barely 8,900,000 votes.
But he got 12 million from his party primaries. Don't you see the prospects of getting more than that?
That is a fraud. If you got 12 million, what is the number of registered members of the APC across Nigeria? Are they up to 12 million? That is what they are claiming. But I know they are not.
And he got 12 million registered and he got 10 million.
That is also, for me, I look at that figure as preparatory to possibly rigging next year's election, because they can also argue that already we are 12 million members. So if he had 8 million votes in the last election, and the assumption is that every member of the APC will vote for him, so he already has 12 million votes in his kitty. I think he's trying to to play on the intelligence of Nigeria with the 12 million votes that the late President Muhammadu Buhari has got to the north. So that number appears to be very attractive. So they wanted to, that number is so attractive, like
lock
a beautiful
it up somewhere.
They want to just lock that down to say we already have 12 million members in our party. So with other Nigerians who will support us, maybe another 5 million Nigerians or 10 million Nigerians. So we can have over 20 million votes. We've won the elections already. That's why I say it's a prelude to rigging the elections next year.
All right, let's look at the civic space. This government and the civic space. From, if it is not Sowore detention today, it is one thing or the other after Very Dark Man, and other civil society groups are also part of it. Like today, we heard the court has ordered that Sowore be detained, remanded at Kuje prison for not honoring court process and all of that. How do you reconcile all of this?
I call this a pseudo-democracy. We are not operating full democracy in Nigeria. This is pseudo-democracy. There's an element of, autocracy in what we are practicing in Nigeria. So when you have a government that is interested, in ensuring that the other two arms of government, are working in harmony with it, or maybe the government finds a way to integrate the other two arms of government into the executive, such that the line of divide between separation of powers is completely obliterated, then that is a challenge. So I see that as an individual, I see that as a challenge. Sowore should have seen that this is a trap. His arraignment is a trap. It happened to Nnamdi Kanu. When Nnamdi Kanu was brought in from Kenya through rendition, Nnamdi Kanu saw at some point that no matter, even if he hires the best lawyer, that their mind is made up to send him to prison. And that was why he decided that there's no point to get legal representation. He decided to represent himself, and he was interested because he now knew that there is no basis in law for him, to be convicted. So he kept asking the judge, show me the law which you are relying on to continue this trial. But the mind of the judge was made up, and we all know what happened. He's now in Sokoto prison. So Sowore should be very careful, because the activists we have in this country that are still courageous enough to challenge the status quo, to challenge this government, they are very few. Sowore is a leading voice in the movement. We have Very Dark Man, a leading voice in the movement. Then we have all these social media activists, these bloggers and all of that, who are, everybody is speaking out one way or the other, using different platforms. And for those that are able to put boots on the ground, I call it boots on the ground. Sowore is one of those who has constantly put boots on the ground. He's physically present in protest ground. He leads the Revolution Now movement. Every government will be frightened, with that kind of toga, Revolution Now. So that alone should have, put him on guard that this is a government that will want him out of circulation. But they're just trying to possibly introduce some fright, some fear in him that if you are not careful, we can do this to you. But once you take on, those of us who are activists, once you have worn the toga of activism, you describe yourself as an activist, and you live your life, as one. Because activism itself is a form of religion. It's a sworn oath to your conscience that there are certain lines you don't want to cross. Whether it is death, you are ready to die. As I sit here now, there's no amount of enticement you are going to entice me with. Is it cars? Is it money? Is it houses? You can't buy my conscience. Because Usman Danfodio in 1840 says that the conscience is an open wound. Only the truth can heal it. I am answerable to my conscience. I'm answerable to my mind, to my heart, to what I perceive as a human being, to what I think should be good life for the general good of the majority of the people. That is a religion to me. I don't go to church. I don't go anywhere. Because I also believe that even the churches themselves have been used as platforms of further eroding our collective mass resistance to oppression.
But let's look at Sowore. He has always been in court session. I think the last one he didn't attend was also the one probably resulting from the attack that when he was tear gassed and he collapsed. But minus that, he has always been at court sessions. So is it enough for the judge to ask for his...
It is the price. Frantz Fanon says that the tree of liberty is watered by the blood of the innocent. You will be tear gassed, you will be beaten, all kinds of things will happen to you. That will not deter you. And to the government, they should not think that by sending Sowore to prison or by, coming up with all of these antics, that they are going to shut in, the voices of the mass of the people or pro-democracy activists from challenging them. History is replete with examples of dictators, of autocrats who try to rein in your opposition. At the end of the day, the opposition survives. There's nowhere in the world, whether it's the French Revolution, the American Revolution, the Russian Revolution, and all of that. The revolutionists will always survive. They will always prevail against autocracy, against dictators, against sit-tight leaders, against those who think that they are the state and they equate themselves with the state and the state is them. So this Sowore, Nigerians this morning should all mobilize, should organize against the emerging threat to the freedom of speech, to freedom of agitation and freedom of protest. Because it's an inalienable right, it's a fundamental right that cannot be tampered with by any government. Yeah, if Sowore did not attend court, yes, so what? Is that why he should be sent to prison? The judge can say it's contempt of court. Contempt in the face of court, that is contempt ad incuria in law. That is not sufficient, to have sent Sowore to court. Because even the judges themselves, they are members of society. They know what is happening in Nigeria. And so what does Sowore represent? Is Sowore representing himself, or is actually speaking for the mass of the people, for the interests of Nigerians? So the judges should also be very careful not to be seen to be used by the executive to muzzle the opposition, to muzzle activists. Because there's a thin line. What is happening in Nigeria today, there's a lot of negative perception, about the judiciary. I have a lot of respect for the judiciary. I have a brother who is a judge, so I have a lot of respect for them. Many of them are decent gentlemen who want to ensure that the society is governed by the rule of law. To them, I give kudos. But to the rest of them who think that they can become acolytes of the executive, they can become, at the beck and call of the executive to be used to muzzle Nigerians. The days of reckoning is awaiting them.
Let's go to the National Assembly. A lot of people have described this National Assembly, the 10th Assembly, as the worst in Nigeria's political history. More so when they've seen them accede to any request from the president, including the flawed Electoral Act 2026. What's your take on that?
Well, I don't know which word to use to describe this assembly now. The 10th Assembly, in my view, I was thinking that with every election cycle, with progression in our democratic practice, that will become stronger as a nation, that our institutions will become stronger. Institutions don't become strong on their own. It is individuals that make institutions to be strong. I recall the case of NAFDAC. Nobody knew about NAFDAC until Professor Dora Akuili became the DG of NAFDAC, and we saw how strong NAFDAC was. The closest we got to having, to securing the independence of the National Assembly, particularly the Senate, was in the days of former Governor of Kwara State, Bukola Saraki, who was able to design a strategy to extricate the Senate from the vice grip of the executive. We witnessed what happened during Saraki's reign. Nigerians became very proud of the Senate. But this 10th Senate has become an anathema, a cog in the wheel of progress. Many Nigerians are disappointed in Godswill Akpabio, the Senate president. He was a former governor for 8 years in Akwa Ibom State. He came to the Senate controversially. We knew what happened. The resident electoral commissioner in Akwa Ibom State, Mike Igini. What happened? We have not forgotten. Somebody stood in for the Senate in the senatorial district of Akpabio. And curiously, that individual was removed and Akpabio stepped in. The elections in that senatorial district was reportedly rigged by a professor, I can't remember his name now, and Mikey Guinness stood his ground, provided evidence before the court. And that professor, as we speak, is in jail now. That is the first case of election compromise that was followed through by a determined resident electoral commissioner. Everybody knows the history of Mikey Guinea. We even thought he would become the INEC chairman. If Tinubu wanted INEC to be truly independent, why didn't he appoint Mikey Guinea as the INEC chairman? So that Nigerians, for once, we have confidence in INEC. But yet, every appointment that is made by this government is shrouded in controversy. So, as far as I am concerned, the Senate under Akpabio is symbolized by extreme disgrace. It has become a disgrace to Nigerians. I wonder what Akpabio is thinking of when he leaves the Senate, how history will record him. Is he thinking about that? Is he thinking of his family and children? Is he thinking of those, his children who bears his name? If an Akpabio son or daughter appears anywhere in Nigeria and introducing himself or herself as the son of the former Senate President Akpabio, how will Nigerians look at that child? In 2027, more is awaiting these senators in their respective senatorial district. Shock is awaiting them. They will be surprised that people, little known individuals, will defeat them in the elections that are coming up. And I want Nigerians, I call on Nigerians this morning, it is not enough to complain. We have our voters' card.
Unfortunately, we have oppositions that seem to be in bed with the ruling party. So do you think that the opposition is doing enough to check this government, or probably share the sentiment of those that say that the opposition is dead in Nigeria?
We don't have true opposition in Nigeria. We don't have genuine opposition in Nigeria. The reason I say so is that the political parties are bereft of ideologies. Have you ever seen Democrats in the United States crossing over to the Republican Party, or Republicans crossing in the Senate, in the Congress, brazenly and openly? What a shame. These people are so shameless. As I said before you, if you elect me on the platform of the PROP or any political party, I must believe that that political party has a manifesto. I think the manifesto these political parties are writing is just a sham. It's just an academic exercise to deceive Nigerians. It is, any manifesto is supposed to be the ideological representation, the Bible or the Quran of that political party. But what do we have? They simply write their manifesto, and once they get elected, they throw the document away. They don't even move motions on the floor of the House in line with what their party manifesto. So if people can just defect from their party overnight, you get us on the platform of the Labour Party, PDP, NNPP, or any of the political parties, you get to the National Assembly, the next thing Akpabio is reading defection letters. What a shame. So that's why I say we don't have true opposition.
All right, let's go to INEC. Is INEC as an institution fixable? Because with the election set for January, February 2027, is there any coordinated plan to prevent the expected election rigging? If INEC sabotages the process again, like we saw in 2023, how should Nigerians respond?
Well, I'm sure 2027 will be different. It will be different because Nigerians are now quite conscientized. Nigerians now know that part of the problem they have, apart from the apart from the layers of government, the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature, that INEC itself, that institution is very pivotal. It's very critical to the survival of democracy. is very important to the safeguard of democratic choices and preferences. So, Nigerians are going to focus heavily on INEC, and that is why you are seeing the current pressure, the protest in INEC offices by the different political parties and all of that. Now, I need to warn ahead that it's not likely going to be business as usual for INEC or the different resident electoral commissioners in the states to think and believe that they can compromise the elections next year, between January and February, very crucial elections, that on their own will determine the very existence of Nigeria. Do not forget, there are also arguments that Nigeria expired about 4 years ago, that the document of amalgamation, that brought the southern Nigeria, southern protectorate and northern region together, expired in 2024, because that document has a lifespan, allegedly have a lifespan of 100 years. I have not seen that document, but I want to believe, because when the British came in and persuaded southern Nigeria and northern Nigeria to come together to become one country, and then they gave the name Nigeria, there must be some form of agreement and discussion. What were those discussions? What were those agreements? Nobody has seen the document. So there are people who have assessed it, and they are saying that, indeed, Nigeria as a country has expired. Now, with regards to INEC, INEC cannot be insulated. The behavior of INEC cannot be insulated from even the Constitution itself, that many of us in the civil society movement describe as a very fraudulent document. Because the opening paragraphs of the Constitution says that we, the people of Nigeria, make unto ourselves this Constitution. I cannot remember any time, anywhere, whether my own forefathers, my fathers, and even me now, or anybody at any point in Nigeria, sitting down with anybody to decide that we want to make a Constitution for ourselves. So the current feeble attempt to rework some of the vexatious aspects of the Constitution, I don't think it is acceptable to Nigerians. And INEC derives its powers from that fraudulent document called the Constitution. Because to the extent of a document lying against a people and itself, it simply shows to a very large extent that the country itself was built on a very fractured, fraudulent foundation. And that's why we're having all these problems. There are people who believe that their religion is supreme, and that their religion, if you don't accept it, they will use force to get you to accept it. Now, no nation can grow when you have people who think that they are superior to other people. So this contest of superiority, this mindset of that power belongs to us, while others are supposed to be subservient, they are slaves, they are supposed to be scapegoated. It cannot work, and that's why we're having the problem. So, with regards to INEC, the reason I said that next year is going to be a defining moment is because people are already very fed up with even living together as one. Because the fact that we do not share the same culture and tradition, and INEC as an institution has a responsibility to reinvent, that support base, to say that, look, whatever you people want, we will do it for you. So if the ballots that will be cast by Nigerians is in preference of an individual to be president, to be governor, to be anything, I beg INEC, I plead with INEC to please respect the wish of Nigerians. Because if INEC fails to do that, fails to respect the desire, the wish of Nigerians, then INEC itself would have become a precursor to national crisis. They would have prepared the ground for those who want to throw Nigeria into crisis. There's a proverb in my place. It says a child who wants to cry, once you push the head of that child, the child will fall down and start crying. Nigeria already have a lot of people who are waiting to see, waiting for opportunity to exert what they have in their mind. War is not good for any nation. Look at what's happening in Sudan today. Look at what happened to Somalia. Look at what is happening to the Palestinians. And look at what is happening between the Americans and between Israel, Syria, Lebanon, and even Iran. War comes with a lot of pains and evils. If you ask the average Igbo man who witnessed the civil war, the 3-year civil war between 1967 and 1970, they will tell you that the last wish is war. And that is why you see the average Igbo man goes into every nook and corner of Nigeria to establish his business. To reassure those communities that we want to be fully reintegrated back to Nigeria. It's only the Igbo that you find in every community in Nigeria. Maybe the Hausas, they also go around, but other tribes are so conservative. So the point to be made here is that INEC must know that they have an historic responsibility, very crucial responsibility, to guarantee the survival of this country called the Federal Republic of Nigeria. If Professor Amukbito thinks that he has been a lecturer ahead, if he thinks that INEC is a place to play video games, it's a place to joke, then history will record him possibly as the last INEC chairman. And even Mr. President himself should know that he has to respect the wishes of Nigerians.
All right, let's have your honest assessment of the chances of Atiku and Amechi, Obi and Kwakwanso, Donald Duke, Showere, Adewale, Adebayo come next year election against President Tinubu?
Well, these are very interesting pairings. But I feel pained because let us tell ourselves the truth. Donald Duke cannot defeat Tinubu. Showore cannot. Peter Obi, Kwakwanso, yes, they can. Atiku, maybe. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. But the only sure bet would have been all of these individuals pulling their resources together. If they had pulled their resources together, I can tell you that the election next year is a fait accompli. But as it is, we must tell ourselves the bitter truth. The only political party that is not divided, that is unified, is the APC, the ruling party. On which platform Tinubu will be running for re-election next year? The NDC, the National Democratic Congress, the party of Peter Obi and Kwakwanso, is new. Many Nigerians are yet to even know the symbol of the party. And I have not seen sufficient public enlightenment using platforms such as this, because this, your platform, has a wide reach. It's a global platform. Because the truth is that traditional media in Nigeria is almost is in retreat. It's almost gone. All over the world, you have embraced the new media, which platforms like this represents. We've not seen advertorials. We've not seen publicity of even the messages. The elections are not far anymore. We are already in June. We are moving to July. So we are looking at less than 6 months from now. Elections will kick off. Well, maybe they are waiting for the election, the INEC timetable, for campaigns to begin. But talking about your party symbols and trying to conscientize people is not campaign. You are not saying vote for this candidate, vote for this. This is the symbol of the ADC. Promote it, the national conscience. But so, generally looking at the permutations, I have my worries because the opposition is now divided. And a house divided against itself cannot stand. Peter Obi has a great chance. And the biggest problem to the opposition in Nigeria is even Atiku Abubakar, a serial contestant who has also become a serial loser, and a man who has refused to give up. Let us put Nigeria down as a country. The North has done 8 years. We have not changed that arrangement. If people have changed that arrangement, then Atiku can run, a Northerner can run. What kind of temerity is Atiku trying to demonstrate? He goes to show to me this morning, today as I speak to you, that this born-to-rule mentality of his own Fulani stock is what may be driving Atiku to behave the way he's behaving. Otherwise, if Atiku had agreed not to run, I'm sure even Peter Obi will not go to the NDC today. The ADC, the African Democratic Congress, which was an opposition party that most Nigerians even came to embrace, seeing that Peter Obi and Atiku are there. And Chibuike Amechi is there.
Let's narrow it. If push comes to shove and then it's narrowed to just 2 candidates, Peter Obi and Atiku, probably using facts and figures, who do you think can give Tinubu a rerun for his money or even defeat him?
Well, if you look at, before now, I think Atiku being a Northerner would have given Tinubu a run for his money. But if you also look at what happened in 2023, the North itself agreed that it's the turn of the South. And I remember El-Rufai was one of those who spearheaded that campaign, one of the governors that spearheaded that campaign, that it was the turn of the South. So if it was the turn of the South has done, by next year, the South would have done 4 years. So is it not now saying that power should not devolve back to the region? So many Northerners do not agree that power should devolve back to the North by next year. As a journalist, I do know, I've spoken to a lot of Northerners who still think that the next 4 years, power should remain in the South. So if that is the aggregate thinking and opinion in the North, then Atiku would have lost it. In Adamawa State, his own state, Atiku is not able to persuade Adamu Fintiri, the PDP governor of his own state, from defecting to the APC. So can we say that he has a foothold on his state? The answer is no. Now, Peter Obi is from Anambra State. The governor of Anambra State, Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo, is not really in agreement with Peter Obi as a former governor of the state. But that state is not under the ruling APC. It is a state still being held by the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA. So to that extent, and I know that Peter Obi is still loved in Anambra State. So I do not see Anambra people voting against Peter Obi compared to Adamawa people who are not likely going to vote for an Atiku. They are likely going to follow their governor and follow the APC. So if you look at this analysis, it will become clear that, one, the mood in the North does not favor power returning to the North at this time. But with regards to who has the best chances, Tinubu still has a significant chance of winning the election as long as the opposition remains the way they are. You know, as long as Atiku insists on running against Peter Obi and Kwankwanso. If you look at Peter Obi, if you look at Kwankwanso, Kwankwanso has locked down Kanu, you know. He still has significant large following in Kanu State, while Peter Obi now has significant following across the country. Because most Northerners are not saying that they've been, you know, they've had this unwritten agreement with the Southwest for a long time. Power has been rotating between the North and the Southwest for a long time, apart from Jonathan, who by providence just came to power, you know, when Jaradua died. It has always been, when it comes to the South, a Yoruba person picks it up, then it goes to the North. So the North too is also even thinking, shouldn't we, is it not time we look in the direction of the Southeast? And that is why the Peter Obi phenomenon becomes a serious one. That if the North decides to support Peter Obi I'm talking about the North, and you know the voting pattern in the North is usually block. If the North decides to support Peter Obi next year, then whether we like it or not, Tinubu will be in trouble. Because if you look at the last election in 2023, Tinubu has Peter Obi had recorded significant result in Lagos State, which is even the political base of the president. And Peter Obi was able to make inroad there, and I do not think that those supporters have overnight, in 4 years, evaporated. They are still there. And in the Southwest, because even if you look at the opposition to Tinubu right now, most of the opposition, people like Sowore, the late Adebanjo and all of that, they are all Yoruba people. They are coming from the Southwest. It's even the Southeast that is supporting Tinubu right now. With Dave Umahi, almost all the governors defecting to the APC. So the Southeast is almost in. But whether the governors who defected, the Southeast governors who defected to the APC are carrying their people along, and they will be able to deliver the results in 2027 if a Peter Obi is on the ballot against Tinubu. That's a different ball game. But generally, politics is very fluid. Elections are very fluid. As we approach the elections, a lot of factors are going to come into play. Tinubu can spring a surprise by possibly releasing Nnamdi Kanu from Sokoto prison. If he does that, that is going to be a political master stroke. There will be what will be the issues in the Southeast for campaign against Tinubu if he releases Nnamdi Kanu, and then you have a minister of works who is from the region, and then roads are now being built in the East. Things are happening there, unlike before. And then a leader that they all love, Nnamdi Kanu, who was imprisoned by Buhari, is freed by Tinubu, a Yoruba man, and they is asking for their support to return him. So I think that could be a joker, against even Peter Obi himself. So a whole, like I said, it's fluid, and a lot of things is going to happen. But generally speaking, Nigerians want the best in 2027. We are tired of these shenanigans. We are tired of deceit. We are tired of fraudulent politicians who just want to feather their own nest, line their pockets at the expense of the people.
Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure.
I also appreciate you for coming. It's been a wonderful session.
Thank you.